In Malaysia alone, thousands of women live with this hidden condition. Imagine hitting puberty, all your girlfriends are having their periods, you don't.
It was confusing, like, what do you mean you cannot find my uterus?
Wani Ardy is a celebrated Malaysian poet and musician, but behind the microphone, she carried a devastating secret.
I was not told that I was born without vagina. It wasn't until like the 6th or 7th doctor's hospital that you would finally get your answer. And then they turned to my mother and said, when she wants to get married, come back here and we'll talk more. Keep this a secret. Don't tell anyone about your condition.
They're associating our body organ just as the only function being sexual intercourse.
Half of us struggling with relationship and marriage. We sell ourselves short. We think, oh, it's okay to have a guy treat me this way because after all, I cannot give a child to him. Believing that I am enough is a daily choice. And women deserve more options. What we need is
Wani, let's start raw. What's the first thing a girl finds out when she is MRKH? And how does it feel in that moment?
For a lot of us MRKH girls and women, we got diagnosed at the age of 16, 17, 18. Why? Because none of us experienced menstruation, not even a drop of blood. So naturally, when you're in, Form 4, Form 5, and you're still not getting your period, your mother, your family would bring you to the clinic, the hospital. And that's when you would find out that you were born without uterus and without vagina. And maybe I couldn't speak on behalf of every MRKH girl out there, but my personal experience per se, first of all, it was confusing for me. The first emotion I had was not even sadness, it was confusing. We're talking about more than 2 decades ago, so there was not much awareness, information, and how doctors back then phrase it was just, oh, we couldn't find your uterus. So for a 17-year-old girl, that was like,
Harsh.
Not exactly harsh, it was confusing, like, you can't, where did it go? Like, what do you mean you cannot find my uterus? Like, was there any technical problem or what? Where did it go? Like, is that normal? I don't think so, so much confusion. During that time, for most of us, our primary source of information when it comes to health are doctors.
Right.
But rare disorder was not a huge thing, among local doctors back then. We didn't know much about rare disorders. So a lot of doctors that I went to, I was their first patient with this condition. So they did not know
What they were dealing with.
that much as well. They had to, I remember doctors were calling their colleagues, I have this patient, what should I do? What's next? Yeah, so it was very confusing for me and frustrating because I was expecting more information. I wanted solid answers, but the only answer that I got was, we couldn't find your uterus. Which I, through time I understood it as, oh, so I was born without uterus. So I didn't have a uterus to begin with. It was not lost anything.
Right.
I was just born without it.
Without one.
Yeah.
And so at some point when all your friends were having their menstruation, the period, and then you realize that, hey, I'm not having my period.
Yeah.
You see a doctor in I imagine KKM?
It was SGMC because I was staying in I grew up in Subang Jaya.
Right.
So the first doctor I went to was in Subang Jaya Medical Center.
I see.
Yeah.
And from there, you had to go through a tour of doctors afterwards to
Yeah.
try and find your answer as to
Yes.
where was your uterus, really.
And this is a common process for a lot of rare disorders in Malaysia. It wasn't until like the 6th or 7th doctor's hospital that you would finally get your answer. Yeah, it's because I remember going to one of rare disorders conference or conventions like that, and we realized that what we have in common is that it took us several years before we got the official diagnosis.
Right.
Yeah.
And the diagnosis you received, and I hope I pronounced this right, it was Mayer-Rokitansky-Küster-Hauser syndrome, or MRKH as we know it in short. Many people have never heard of MRKH, and you mentioned being born without the uterus. It's something that people couldn't guess just by looking at you. Can you explain what is MRKH in a bit more detail for someone like myself who has not encountered an understanding, and what is it like to live with MRKH?
So Mayer-Rokitansky-Küster-Hauser syndrome, those are actually names of 4 physicians who discovered this rare disorder. It's a rare disorder that happens to 1 in every 5,000 girls and women all around the world. 4,500 to 5,000, yeah. So, girls with MRKH syndrome, a lot of us, we were born without uterus and without vagina. But there are also significant number of us who was just born without uterus but with normal vagina. Yeah. Okay. So it varies. Every MRKH person is different. Some of us, we don't have the uterus completely. Some of us do have uterus, but like really small, underdeveloped, not functioning. Yes. And in terms of the vagina, some of us just did not have any vagina at all, like me. But some of us, we have different sizes of the opening. Some as tiny as a dimple. Others, it looks like the length is like the belly button, so it's very short. Some have completely normal vagina, yeah, so it varies. And the term MRKH syndrome is actually not something that I heard from any of the doctor that I went to. These 4, 5, 6 doctors in hospitals that I went to, they just mentioned we couldn't find your uterus. We suspect that you were born without it, but they didn't name the condition. I discovered the name through a support group in the US called Beautiful You Foundation.
Sorry, let's say that again. Beautiful
You Foundation.
Beautiful You Foundation.
Yeah, so it's a support group for MRKH girls and women.
Right.
So that was my very first support system as an MRKH girl. I reached out to them in my early 20s, and they taught me way more as opposed to all the doctors I went to. Yeah. So they taught me about the possibility of vaginoplasty. They taught me about dilation therapy. They taught me about you might want to check if you were born without vagina or not. So that's another thing. I was not told that I was born without vagina.
So they said the uterus was missing, but they didn't say anything else.
So this was the line. They said, we couldn't find the uterus.
Yes.
We suspect you were born without it. And then they turned to my mother and said, when she wants to get married, come back here and we'll talk more.
When she wants to get married, come back here and we'll talk more.
Yes. Again, it was confusing for a 17-year-old. I was like, what's that supposed to mean? Is there more? So I didn't know. Up until I got connected with Beautiful You Foundation, and they told me, apart from not having uterus, there's also a possibility that you were born without vagina. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
And that was like in your early 20s already at this point.
Yes,
right.
Very early 20s. And they said, you might want to get yourself checked, which I did. And then I found out I didn't have vagina. I didn't have the opening. Right. So normal women would have 3 openings. I had 2. So my vagina was complete wall, nothing. And I was just shocked by the fact that none of the doctors mentioned this to me back then. But through time, I also understand that, maybe because I was too young, they didn't want to break the news just yet. Maybe I was too young to understand. It's also, there's a lot of taboo and it's very stigmatized, right?
Right.
Talking about vagina with a teenager. But they didn't inform my mother either.
And they didn't mention that we would have to do an examination of some sort to find out, to determine if her vagina is there or anything.
Nobody mentioned about vagina at all. They just said, when she wants to get married, come back here.
Right.
As I grow older, I started suspecting, is it something to do with sex, with, sexual life? And it kind of connect together, so odd. No wonder they didn't want to talk about it when I was 17, because not having vagina means I couldn't have sex.
So they're associating our body organ just as the only function being would be sexual intercourse, and that's it.
Yeah, so I'm guessing, to their understanding, you don't need to know whether you can have sex or not until you want to get married.
Yeah, but but then again, as a woman, it's my body.
Yeah.
Whether or not I can have sex or not. You want to know about your body.
Exactly.
Do you feel let down by the medical community at that point when you found all this information from Beautiful You Foundation?
To be honest, yes. I totally understand that not all doctors would be perfectly equipped in terms of knowledge and information related to rare disorders. After all, there are over 7,000 rare disorders in the world. So I'm not expecting them to know everything. But that information per se, I feel I have the right to it. Somebody should have told me. I'm not saying that maybe I would take it better, because yes, I was 17. Yes, I was very young. Yes, it would hurt me. It would be painful, but I would have more time to
just
process and
that
digest.
and to navigate that.
Yeah.
Than to sort of be shocked at in your 20s.
Yeah.
For listeners who've never heard about MRKH and hearing all this for the first time, it comes a bit as a shock as well as a woman. What's the biggest misconception, do you think, for just an average woman to have about this condition?
Some people confuse MRKH with CHICE, and that's complete androgen insensitivity syndrome, or in Malaysian language we call it khunsa.
Right.
So a lot of people think we are part of the khunsa community, which means you are born intersex.
Okay.
So it's either you have two genitals,
Yes,
or the feature of the genital is just not clear, whether it's male or female, or you have both characteristics, maybe not in terms of the genital physically, but inside, like your chromosome and whatnot. So,
but as I understand it, for MRKH sisters, you're every part female.
yeah.
There's no ambiguity about it.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, but because we don't have uterus, and a lot of us don't have vagina, so people think of that as being less of a woman, and immediately they think of that as male. When
Right.
you're less of a woman, so that means you
By
have
default.
male. Yeah,
You're a male, right?
yeah. So I think that has been the wrong information that a lot of people believe. Yeah.
And you spoke about how confused you were. Your mother was in the room. How has
Yes.
the journey been for your mother? Was it hard for her to take the news? Was she supportive?
It was hard. To begin with, I grew up in a very conventional, traditional Asian family, very typical Asian family who don't talk about sex, reproductive health, sex education, none. So the man in my family, obviously, totally out of the picture. Nobody wants to talk about it. So it was just me and my mom. I don't even talk about it to my sister. So it was just me and my mom. And I guess at the age of 17, receiving that news together with my mom, it hit her harder than it hit me. Because like I said just now, it was confusing for me. But for her, she started seeing my future, who's gonna accept her, who's gonna be with her. So her first response was, number one, keep this a secret. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone about your condition. If anybody asks, just make things up. That's exactly what she said. But I understand it was just her way of being protective. She wanted to protect me.
In the best way she knew how at the
Yes, yeah. But of course, for me to come to this conclusion, it took years. when I was a teenager, I took it as is my mom embarrassed of me, you know? But now that I am a mother myself, I understand she was speaking out of love and wanting to protect me from everything else. So the first thing she said was, keep this a secret, don't tell anyone. If anybody asks why you're not getting your period, just tell them you do have period. You know, just make things up. Even up to the time when I adopted my first child, even during that time, my mom told me, you know, don't tell anyone that you adopted your child. And I was like, how am I supposed... I didn't have a large belly ever.
For 9 months.
I see my friends all the time. It's not like, you know, I disappear for a year and come back. How am I supposed to lie for something that big? Yeah, but my mom was really protective. And the second thing that she said to me upon diagnosis at the age of 17, she said, Wani, I think it's best for you to not get married.
Right.
Yeah, just stay with me, you know, just grow old together with me and
She just wanted to...
don't get married. Yeah.
I'm a mother myself, so
Yeah.
I can relate to how
Yes.
protective you want to be of your little cubs.
Yeah, and me being, you know, a teenager, of course, that triggered the rebellious part of me, I guess. I was like, in my head, I was thinking, my thought process was, are you saying that I don't deserve to have a normal life? Are you saying that I don't deserve to have a partner? I don't deserve to be loved? That's how I was thinking. Again, I was just a teenager, you know, that teenage angst and whatsoever.
There must have been so much friction in that relationship with your mother.
Oh, yes.
Because of this condition itself.
Now that I think of it, it definitely hit my mom harder. In order for her to say all those things, you know, she would not say all those things if it did not affect her greatly.
We'll come back to that. And I think what perhaps our listeners might be wondering, you've mentioned you've gone on to lead a full life. You've adopted how many children?
2 children.
2, wow. And these are choices that you continue to make. And what has it been like for you in terms of, you know, romance and having a domestic partner? To break out from what your mother said, Wani, don't get married, just stay with me. How has that part of life unfolded for you?
It has been hard to just deal with my own self-esteem, to be honest. Born with MRKH syndrome, living with MRKH syndrome, not having the basics, you know, uterus, vagina, and having people around you telling me what I deserve and not deserve having. Of course, that affected me greatly, affected my self-confidence, my self-esteem, and it's not just me. Even among other MRKH sisters, many of us have been struggling with self-esteem, and that really project onto our capacity to have relationship. Like, we just don't believe in ourselves that much. That are we that worthy to have a partner? Are we, you know, are we enough to be in a relationship? Do we even deserve this to begin with? So it's all about fighting your inner demons, you know. So that have been really, really hard. And this is where I realize the roles of fathers come into place. Because I've been doing this thing for over a decade, right? Talking to so many MRKH girls, supporting so many MRKH women, talking to their families and whatnot, working closely with UKM, which is the only MRKH hub in the entire Malaysia, working with their researchers, doctors, professors, surgeons, and whatnot. And I realized that for a lot of us, we have experienced anxiety, major depression in some point of our lives. And a lot of that stems from not being acknowledged and validated.
Not being seen.
Yeah, when we were much younger. And this comes back to, you know, Asian culture. making this entire topic a huge taboo, how it's so stigmatized to talk about sexual health, reproductive health.
organs,
Yeah. And how dads would just dump the entire job to the mom to speak to the daughter. Look, you've never had period because you don't have womb. On top of that, you don't have vagina. So the entire hard job, the mother itself is trying to process, and you're trying to support the daughter. There's too much on the mother.
Right.
Too much on. Even my mother got blamed. I remember this very clearly when I got my diagnosis. Relatives were asking my mom, "What did you do when you were pregnant with her?" Nobody asked my dad. Everybody was asking my mom, "What did you do when you were pregnant with her? What did you eat? Did you do something differently
So she was being
compared to your other
condemned for
siblings?"
something
Yeah, so
that was beyond her control.
yeah, and can you imagine the amount of pressure she had? Like, she felt she needed to support me, protect me, and at the same time trying to
guilt.
process it. Yes, so much mom's guilt, but nobody asked my dad anything.
He got away scot-free.
Yeah, it's so unfair. Like, women don't get pregnant out of like thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
a two humans job. And I realized when I sit down with all of my MRKH sisters, and UKM have been amazing in conducting so many research, trying to analyze why did we experience, major depression, anxiety, severe low self-esteem and whatnot. So I said it stems from not being acknowledged, not being validated, particularly from the male figures in our lives.
Would it be just the father or the brothers as well, do you think?
Both, but of course primarily
The father.
Yeah, and that somehow made us feel, like it's okay for other male figures in our life to not validate and acknowledge us.
Right.
Yeah.
And to treat you the way the father. We learn from how
Yes.
our fathers treat us.
Yeah.
Let's take a spin on that. If you could rescript your experience, what would you have wanted your father to say to you? What sort of validation would any father who has a daughter who has MRKH today, what would be so helpful to the girl for the father to say or do?
I would like to see my dad supporting my mom. And I would like us to sit down as a team and talk about it openly. Because it was always so intense for me to sit down with just my mom and talking about it. And I could see that she was really uncomfortable, and she herself was so lack of support. She, as a caregiver, she was desperate for support.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, she was overwhelmed.
And trying to be a fixer, from what I'm hearing.
Yes. So I wish she could have more support from my dad. But having said that, I understand that, my dad was not equipped. He come from a really religious, conservative family. So he was not ready, he was not prepared. He didn't know how to. But like you said, if I could rewrite, I want the three of us to
sit down at the table together.
Yeah, sit down together. And so these are the facts, these are the diagnoses. What are we going to do about this?
You wanted him to participate in your journey, basically.
Definitely, yeah. I want the male figures in my life, my father, my brother, to tell me that I am enough, that I am worthy. Even though that sounds, that sounds pathetic, but
Not at all.
I needed it. As a 17-year-old back then, I needed it to be told that I was enough. Now, here's the thing. In our support group, MRKH Malaysia, there's about 200 of us. Half of us struggling with relationship and marriage, chose the wrong man. Why? Because our thought process is very similar, we think, oh, it's okay to have a guy treat me this way because after all, I cannot give a child to him.
Right.
After all, I cannot have perfect sex with him. So, you know, we sell ourselves short.
Very short.
Yes, because we've always believed in the notion of we're not enough, so we shouldn't be getting enough.
Not even the basic level of respect and regard that one
Yeah.
would expect from a spouse. Right.
So a lot of the issues that I deal with in supporting MRKH sisters are not just in terms of their health. More often than not, it's about their personal life, their relationship, marriage, you know, being abused by their partner.
And sometimes the abuse is not always physical, is it?
Yes. Physical, sexual, mental, verbal.
Because if a woman is already saying she's not enough in the relationship, then I think the partner would build on to that.
Yeah.
You're not enough.
Yes.
Why are we having this argument? You know, that,
Exactly. And we believe in it wholeheartedly because that's how we grew up. We grew up believing in that notion because our fathers, our brothers didn't come and tell us, you know, you deserve what other girls deserve.
how do you make that breakthrough? Because from where you were at 17 to where you are today, Wani, you've gone through that process of breaking, disintegrating in some way, and reclaiming yourself. And now actually reaching out to so many other MRKH sisters. But going through from a place of confusion to I am enough, that's a difficult process.
Of course.
How did you get from confusion to clarity?
Time, experience, a lot of failures and mistakes and dark moments. Yeah. I would not be here today, to be honest, without everything that happened to me. In fact, yesterday I was just talking about this. I had like an intimate sharing session event yesterday and talking about, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. If I have the choice to be reborn, I want to be reborn as an MRKH girl. It made me the person I am today.
It shaped you.
Yeah. I wouldn't have the clarity that I have today if it wasn't for everything that I went through, all of the failed relationships and marriages and the suicidal ideation, the suicide attempts and everything. I wouldn't be here.
And every time you had a failed relationship, a failed marriage, a suicidal attempt, what made you say to yourself, I'm gonna just stand up again today?
I believe I was born for this. I believe I was born for this. Yesterday I was thinking about this word. I don't know how to put it in English.
Tired of doctors talking and not understanding what you're saying? TalkHealth Asia cuts the fluff. Real experts, real answers, real access, so you can take control of your health.
In Malaysian language, it
Let's
was
say it, Bahasa.
hikmah. Hikmah. So I think it's in the middle of wisdom and blessing.
Right.
Yeah. When I was 17, 18 years old, early 20s, me trying to come to terms with my diagnosis, and my mom didn't know how to navigate that. My mom turned to her sister. Her sister, my aunt, she was a head nurse in a hospital. And I remember to this day what she said to me. She said, Wani, people like you are needed in this world to balance it all. Just imagine if all females, all women in the world can conceive, everyone can conceive, infertility does not exist. Imagine that. What would happen to orphans? What would happen to abandoned babies? What would happen to unwanted children? So women like you, who cannot conceive, you are needed to balance this world. Your job is to be the home for children without homes. And that's when I decided I'm gonna adopt. because I was born to do that. I was born to be a home to children without home. So that totally shifted the way I see myself. I found my purpose that moment. And also, as an advocate, before advocating, I've always been on stage as a poet, as a singer-songwriter. I've been doing that since I was 18, since I was a performing arts student. But it wasn't until I was 30 that I decided I'm gonna come out and go public about my condition.
You did the one thing your mother asked you not to do.
Yes, I was 30. Now, I've been on stage since I was 18, right?
12 years.
Yes. So for me to suddenly go public about my condition at the age of 30, not singing, not reciting poems, but this time talking about, hey, I was born without vagina. I am 1 in 5,000. I am searching for girls like me. For me to do that, I think I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have that foundation as a performer. You get what I mean?
Being comfortable with
Yeah.
public speaking.
Yes.
That shaped your journey
Yes.
to do the work that you...
Yeah, and that just made me realize, my God has been arranging my life this way. Because back
in
then...
this sequence.
Yeah. Like, okay, so here's the thing. I come from a really typical Asian family where my siblings are doctors, my cousins are engineers, lawyers, teachers, nobody's in the arts.
And you
I
were
am the
the
only one.
standalone swan.
I am the only one in the arts out of my 60 cousins, and this is just on my dad's side. So it was not easy being a student pursuing performing arts. To be honest, it was embarrassing to admit that in family reunion, what were you studying? I'm studying engineering. I'm studying
medicine.
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm studying performing arts.
Apa tu?
Are you gonna be a singer? Are you gonna be an actor? It's not very Asian. It's not an Asian thing. Yeah. My parents were also not very happy about me pursuing performing arts.
Sure.
Yeah.
As any Asian parent.
Yes.
Yep. But that shaped your path, didn't it?
Exactly.
For the public work, the public-facing advocacy that you're doing now for rare disorders.
Because when I sit down with MRKH leaders from other countries, because once in a while we would have this conference and programs where MRKH leaders from various countries would gather, and especially those from Southeast Asian countries, we are more traditional, we are more reserved. So MRKH leaders from, say, Indonesia, India, Singapore, they would ask me, how do you do it? To be on stage and talking about not having vagina, it's so hard. And I said, it's not easy, but it's also not that hard either, because I've been on stage for more than over a decade. So for me, it's just like a little bit of leveling up on a personal side. Not saying it's easy, it's still not easy, but I've been trained for this. Yeah. So that is the hikmah that made me realize I was born for this. And it's not easy. I wouldn't be able to help so many girls and women if I
traveled the road differently.
Yeah.
But beyond your performative arts background, could I suggest that along the way, the difference was you reached that sweet spot where you said, finally, you could look in the mirror and said, I am enough. And that's what allows you at 30 to stand on the stage beyond the performative skills. Because even with all the performative skills, if you still felt that I'm not enough, then it would be prohibitive for you to stand up and say, look, I was born without a uterus. I cannot have children of my own by natural birth, and I do not have a vagina. But you finally came to that sweet spot where you said, I'm enough. I am still every bit a woman, and I am Wani the way I am.
Believing that I am enough is a daily choice, to be honest. It's not like one moment I wake up and say I'm enough and that's that. It's a conscious choice I have to make every single day. And to be honest, I don't make the same choice every single day. But I am the kind of person who would just do things scared, including what I'm doing right now. I am scared, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. Yeah.
Thank you for being brave with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, so a lot of things that I do, I just do it scared. Because every time people ask me, how do you become so brave? I say, I am not brave. I am scared.
You're
I
walking
just
through
do
that
it.
fear.
Yeah. I carry the fear together with me and just do it. And that's it.
You're embracing the fear.
Yeah. I'm befriending the fear.
Befriending the fear. Wow.
Yeah.
That's profound. That's hikmah there. You're befriending the fear.
Because I've been trying to kick that fella out. It wouldn't budge. So I'm like, okay, fine, just come with me. Let's do this carrot. Because at the end of the day, I just want to do it. That's the priority. Not to eliminate the fear away. It will stay with me forever, I think. I'm a very anxious person. I think you can see that.
It's hard to imagine that when you say to me, look, I've been out of relationships, I've been out of the marriage. It's hard for me to envisage that. Because that would take a woman of great resilience and strength. But you're saying there is a greater strength, which is to befriend the fear and walk through that fear.
Because there are days when I wake up and choose not to feel enough, to be honest. Like today, I just want to sleep in. I just want to believe that I am not enough. I am not that deserving. And then I'm just going to sleep that feeling off. And the next day, I feel slightly better. So like I said, it's a conscious choice I need to make every single day.
Wani, your story has been so fascinating. I'm not even looking at any of my notes. We've talked about brothers, sisters, mother, father, partners. Did any of your teachers knew about your condition?
Not really.
So not really.
Yeah.
What about your friends, like your girlfriends, close girlfriends?
I definitely shared with my close girlfriends. Okay, I'm gonna share something that happened very recently. So I've just had a surgery. I have issues with my gut health.
Right.
And part of the things that contributed to that was my mental health. It's related, right?
Sure.
Mental health and gut health. And I have always been the kind of person who doubt myself so much. You can see that,
Of
right?
course.
I doubt myself so much. So even when I was sick, even when I was hospitalized, even when the doctor said, okay, Wani, we're gonna do the surgery tomorrow, I was still doubting, like, am I just being dramatic? Am I really sick? Am I just exaggerating things?
You didn't feel worthy of the surgery.
I think it has to do with living with an invisible condition. Like from the outside, I look perfectly fine.
So you start to second guess
would,
yourself.
Yeah, nobody would think I was born without uterus, without vagina. You cannot see that. For a lot of MRKH women, we look normal. Yeah. So because of that, we would often downplay our health issues. I doubt myself so much throughout my life, even up until, just a couple of weeks ago. And then, just a few days ago, before I traveled here to Penang, I went to see my doctor, my surgeon, to get a clearance for me to travel. Because this is my first travel after surgery.
Right.
And he was showing me the lab test results. Okay, Wani, this was your intestine, this was your appendix. The surgery was necessary. You had inflammation, you were bleeding inside, there's hemorrhage and everything. You needed this surgery. And bear in mind, this was a couple of weeks after surgery. I've got discharged. But for him to say that, I was like, oh, so I was not imagining things. It took lab test results, physical evidence
To
in front of
validate.
me. Yeah, for me it's like, oh wow, so I was sick. I was not being dramatic. I was not imagining things. Yeah, and that reminded me of what happened almost 2 decades ago, sharing with my girlfriends about my condition. They didn't understand. Some of them think that I was just exaggerating because it was invisible, right? They couldn't see it. So
And they didn't have the maturity at that
yes,
age too.
yeah, and I am not blaming them at all because I doubt myself anyway. So what more other people, you know? And I only came to know this just recently when I was sitting down with one of my old friends, and he actually told me, you know what, back then, and this was like 2 decades ago, I had a conversation with your girlfriends, and they actually, you know, doubt your story. And you know, they thought you were just making things up, or it was not that bad, you were not really sick and stuff like that. Yeah. And I am so glad that he told me now that I have the maturity to understand and accept that, because if he were to tell me back then, it would hurt me, of course. But now I'm in my 40s and I say, that totally makes sense because I myself doubt me, you know? Yeah. So coming back to your question, yes, I did open up to friends, close friends, but that does not mean that
They
would.
journeyed with you.
Yeah. To begin with, it's a rare disorder. You know, it's hard for people to relate to that. Just the part of not having period at all. They cannot relate to that. The feeling of isolation, of not experiencing menstruation. For them, for a lot of women, for a lot of girls, they'll be like, oh, you're so lucky, you don't have to get sanitary pads, you know, you don't have to do. We want that.
Yeah.
Because that would make us feel complete. That would make us feel more women. It would complete the girl experience. And MRKH girls and women, even though we were born without vagina, without uterus, we do have ovaries. And because of that, we do have that monthly ovulation pain. We just don't have the blood.
So you actually have the pain.
Yes, every single month.
You have the
For a lot of
hormonal mood
us.
swings too.
Yes, we do have that. So for some of us who cannot deal with the pain, you know, we would go to a doctor and doctor will be like, we can put you on a medication where you would no longer ovulate because it's not like you can get pregnant anyway, you know, so you don't have any needs for eggs. But for a lot of us,
You
we
want to hang
decide,
on to that, no?
yeah, we want the pain. We decide to not take the medication. We decide to continue producing eggs, even though we're not using the eggs for anything because we don't have the womb, the home to begin with to have a baby. But we want the eggs, we want the pain, that monthly pain, because every month when I feel that pain, I'm reminded that I am a woman. Yeah. So I want the pain. And that is a really different way of looking at it, because for a lot of girls, they see it as a curse, that pain. And this is not me romanticizing.
No, of course not. Right?
PMS
Totally hear you.
whatsoever.
It sort
Yeah.
of rubs salt to the wound and to that deep wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's such a blessing to experience ovulation pain every month. Like, it reminded me, oh, my ovaries are working. I'm feeling pain. I'm producing eggs right now, you know? Yeah. Because that's the only organ that's left. Ovaries. That's all we have.
Right. So you would go through, I imagine, later in life, the symptoms of perimenopause, and
Yes.
menopause as well.
I am experiencing it's not nice.
Because your
Oh my
hormones
God,
are
yes.
intact.
Oh, that's an entire other story. Yeah. I'm entering it as we're speaking right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And for women who want kids, for MRKH, women who want kids, you've mentioned the pathway of adoption. Are there any other pathways? Given you mentioned that MRKH women would still have their eggs, are there any other options for Malaysian women?
So right now, MRKH Malaysia, together with UKM, we are working towards making uterine transplant a reality in Malaysia, hopefully.
Fabulous.
This is something that have been done in a lot of other countries now. There's more than 100 successful uterine transplant out there. So we're trying to do that here in Malaysia. The challenge that we're facing right now is the religious bodies, basically. So we've been working on this since 2022, 23, yeah. So for the past 4 years or so.
And if you could speak to the people who are objecting, to the parties who are objecting uterine transplant, what would you say to them today?
I am aware that adoption is an option, but I believe MRKH girls and women deserve more option. Just because we want to make uterine transplant available, it doesn't mean everyone will want uterine transplant. But it would be so kind and complete to have that option, you know, because obviously surrogacy is already out of the picture, you know, not even legal wise, not just in Malaysia, in a lot of Southeast Asian countries, including Singapore. It's not legal. So that's out of the equation already. Understandably so. Too complicated. But at least, other than adoption, we have uterine transplant. We just want to give that option to MRKH girls and women. Having said that, I do understand their concerns. Their concern is that, you know, what if it messes up with genetics and whatnot? But that is not the case here. Uterus is just one of many organs, and just like any other organs that can be donated, can be transplanted, it does not mess up with your genes. You're not getting the genes of the original owner of that womb whatsoever. So UKM and us, MRKH Malaysia, we've done a lot of research. We've sit down with Professor Mats Brännström, who is the pioneer of uterine transplant from Sweden. We've sat down with him. He came here to Malaysia. We had a meeting with him in UKM.
To explain it.
Yeah. So he is willing to train our doctors. All of us are ready. We just need the green light from the religious body. And I am so happy with UKM. Like I said, they've been doing an amazing job supporting us, not just in terms of medical assistance, but also, you know, support in terms of mental emotional support. And we call them, these doctors, our godmothers. We MRKH girls and women, we call our gynecologists at UKM our godmothers because they are so protective of us. I remember one of our first meeting with the religious body, us and UKM, and you know, the people of the religious body, one of the things that they said, why do we need uterine transplant? We have polygamy. The first person who flipped was our professor from UKM.
Right.
They flipped. We were just dumbfounded, but they flipped. And they were like, that is not the solution for MRKH women. That is the solution for the husband. Not the solution for MRKH women. What do you
Still
mean
male-centric.
polygamy? Yeah. So, like you said, it's still male-centric. we are not the priority here. So I am just trying to reshift the focus and say, hey, my younger MRKH sisters deserve better. Some of them would love to go down the adoption path. Some of them are just happy being with their partner. And some of them would love
this
to
option.
go for uterine transplant. I want them to have that option. They deserve it. And we've done so much research and we've done so much preparation to make sure that this is as safe as it gets, as safe as it can be. And it's not like, you know, experimenting on lab rats. It has been done in so many countries, including Muslim majority countries. It has been a success. Why are we giving excuses?
What moves me is you've accepted that this is an option no longer for you, that no longer available to you by age, but you are fighting and championing for the younger women
Yeah.
who are still.
However, okay, this is the amazing part. I also thought that I am out of the equation because of my age, but apparently not. Yeah, because there are significant numbers of successful uterine transplant out there that involves women over 40.
I see.
So can you imagine how safe it can actually be? Like,
It will be a complete breakthrough.
yeah, but yes, I chose not to go through it. I think I have passed that phase, and I am championing this for my younger sisters, my younger MRKH sisters. Yeah. So like I said, not everyone wants to go down this path.
Sure.
Yeah.
You
but-
just want that option to be
Yeah.
available to the women who do.
Yeah. And similarly, you know, normal women would have the option to do, you know, IUI, IVF.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not MRKH sisters?
Yes.
When you speak of the younger sisters, and from your experience, for those MRKH sisters who are listening in, how would you think would be the best approach to speak of this condition to their potential partners or partners they're dating, or to their in-laws? Would you be able to share some practical guidance?
Honesty is always the best policy. I always advise my younger MRK sisters to not use, for lack of a better word, to not use our condition to play victim. This should not weaken you, this should empower you. Because there are incidents where MRKH women not being honest, you know, while I understand where they came from, why they did what they did, it is still not right for you to get married without transparency. And the length of this actually goes to the point of pretending having periods every month and buying sanitary pads every month.
So this the deception
Yeah.
of having such a
Yeah.
double life almost.
Yes, yes. Not just in Malaysia, in Indonesia as well. Because I am I'm closely connected to the MRKH community in Indonesia and Singapore. So Indonesian MRKH community, they're also very reserved, very conservative, to the point of that level of deception. You know, pretending that you have menses every month, and not informing your partner that you're about to be married to that, hey, I don't have any uterus. There's no way I can have
Your
children.
kids.
Yeah. There's no way we can have children for now. For those who was born without vagina, the first night,
Yep.
kantoy already. Yeah, literally. And I've had calls coming in to my mobile phone in the middle of the night, like literally their first night, fighting with their partner because the sex was not how they expected it would be.
Right.
Because they were withholding this information. So I was like, let me guess, you did not tell. Yeah. So like I said, as much as I understand where they came from, why did they do that? It's not okay. But of course, to be honest, to begin with, it's also not easy. And that's why early intervention, early diagnosis is so important for them to process, digest, for girls to educate themselves. And then later on, they can educate their partners. Girls who did not have the time, the space, the opportunity, the tools to educate themselves about their own condition will not be able to educate their partner. So it's a long process. So we're circling back to why my doctors did not tell me that I was born without vagina. You know, I needed that time. It would be painful, definitely. I needed it. A lot of us needed it. We need to know this early. Even though a lot of us got diagnosed at the age of, 17, 18, which we would regard as like the maximum age of getting period, right? There are also a significant number of MRKH women who got diagnosed at the age of mid-20s, early 30s even.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, why didn't you go to the... you've been living without experiencing menstruation, you didn't go to the doctor? And they were like, oh, I'm functioning just fine.
Right.
And it's kind of embarrassing to...
Bring it up.
Yeah. So I just let it go. So they've been living not knowing they do not have vagina and uterus until they got married, until this sex. Yeah.
This 2026, if you could say there are two things that you'd like to see in Malaysia in support of the MRKH sisters and community, what would be the two things be?
The first one, definitely uterine transplant. Because it's so overdue. We've been fighting for this since 2022 and it's 2026. So it breaks my heart every time an MRKH girl come to me and say, is it happening? Is it happening this year? Uterine transplant? Is it happening this year? Mothers come to me. Is it happening? So that's, for me, that's my priority right now. For us, MRKH Malaysia and UKM.
To have that collaboration, to make this possible.
Yeah, to have the government support us. Yeah. And number two, I think it takes a village, literally, to raise a child, right? To raise a child born with rare disorder, it takes several villages. So what I'm saying, community, so important to have stronger community. But communities cannot stand on its own. We need support, and we have been so blessed to have support from UKM all of these years. They've been supporting us since 2017. And we're so lucky to have them with us, working together with us, supporting us in every way possible. But we need more. UKM need more. UKM is basically our caregiver, and like I said,
Your godmothers.
yeah, our godmothers need support. My mother needed support. It takes several villages.
And I hope that TalkHealth Asia is part of that village.
Yes,
We want to be part of the community that makes a difference for MRKH sisters
hopefully.
in
Thank
Malaysia.
you so much.
We always finish this podcast with one question, right? For anyone listening right now, what's the one reset that you would suggest, either that you've lived through? What's the one thing you would reset for anyone who wants to reclaim their life?
I would say acknowledge the reality that strength does not happen overnight. Because I think we're living in a very fast-paced world today. Everything is so content-based, social media-based. We are bombarded with positive, inspiring stories around us. We compare ourselves to others and like, why am I not as strong as this person? Why am I not as brave as Wani? Why am I not this and that? I am not me overnight. It took me decades to be able to sit here and talk like this. So just accepting that, just accepting the reality that you need time to grow. Grow is so important. It will not happen overnight. So be kinder to yourself. Be kinder to yourself.
I like what you said. Growth is important. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And strength will develop with time.
And it's a conscious decision every single day. It's okay if, there's one day you just, I don't want to grow today. I just want to feel like shit and sleep. It's okay. Take a break.
Reset again.
Yeah. More often than not, what we need is rest and not quit. We often mistake resting for quitting. Or is it the other way around?
No. I love what you just said. Instead of resting, we quit.
Yeah.
We could rest a little and continue the journey.
Yeah.
That's what you just said. That's hikmah right there too.
Yeah.
Wani, thank you for joining me today and sharing your story. It's been very inspiring. I'm very moved by what you've lived, and I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
If today's conversation has sparked some thoughts in your head, share it with us by leaving some comments below. We want to keep having honest conversations like today for you.
This episode reflects personal views and recollections at the time of filming. Its content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult a qualified healthcare practitioner to address the concerns you have.